movieweb.com.
This is probably going to be the most asked question you get, but it's your third time working with Joaquin. I always ask directors, after they've worked with an actor several times and have a close relationship, do you consider that actor your muse? Is there a shorthand that exists between you two that you think and he moves and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's part of the joy of working with someone multiple times is that you know their strengths. I won't say weaknesses because with Joaquin I haven't found many as an actor. I absolutely have a shorthand with him, and it's very nonverbal communication at this point. I mean, after a take, I'll say, Joaquin, and he'll say, I know. And if we need to do another one, he'll do it and somehow address the issue that I had. And sometimes I'll look at him and say, how do you feel? Good. And I felt the same way. So that's a wonderful thing. I don't know about, other collaborations. I've not really talked to directors and actors about it. But mine with Joaquin has become very direct and very no-nonsense and very simple, actually. Not a lot of talking goes on between us during the shoot.
That's interesting. In this film, he has the two choices of the two women that he's, kind of maybe not as torn between as we find out in the end. But I find the whole character of Brooklyn and Brighton and the apartment building that they live in, a pretty essential part of the story as well. Can you talk about where that came from, where you research this location?
Yeah, I didn't really do much research, as we call it, because my grandparents are from there, and I was born in Queens. I'm a New York boy, and my brother and I spent a whole lot of time there. Brooklyn has a fantastic sense of history to it. Coney Island is this kind of lonely and windswept and fabulous place with layers, multiple layers. You can almost see the past when you're there. So I always thought, well, Brighton was a fantastic place to set a movie because it's got urban life, but it's also got the ocean right there. And I really didn't do very much conventional research. I mean, talking about how the apartment looks, for example, I kind of just took the furniture from my dad's house and put it in the movie. I literally took paintings off my dad's wall in Queens and put it on the house in Brooklyn. So I looked in different apartments, to get some idea of production design, but for the most part, it is very much what my dad's house looks like. So I suppose I cheated that way.
Tell us about the casting of the two female leads, Gwyneth Paltrow and Vanessa Shaw. There's definitely a very different choice between these two women that Leonard Joaquin's character has to make. What made you decide to go with these two?
Well, in the case of Gwyneth, I had known her for a long time socially and had always quite loved her as a person and found her very lovely but also very vulnerable. And I didn't feel that the movies that she was in, frankly, for better or for worse, showcased that vulnerability. And I wanted to make a picture which kind of featured that aspect of her that I didn't think had been revealed a lot in other movies, a kind of tender, screwed up, vulnerable side. As for Vanessa, I told the casting director I did not want, some homely girl who would walk around going, Leonard, I really like you. I wanted instead someone who was earthy and who was lovely, but that Leonard might be blind to her loveliness. That was part of the point of the story, I thought. And I said, well, I want like a young Claudia Cardinale, someone kind of earthy and beautiful, but not, not done up. And he said, I don't know who that is. And I had seen 3:10 to Yuma, and Vanessa has one scene in it, and she says almost nothing, and she's wonderful. And then I met her, and I said, I don't know, can she play a Jewish girl? And then I asked her, I said, I don't know if you can play a Jewish girl. She says, my real last name is Schwartz. I said, you got the part.
That's great. All right, my final question is, what's your next move as a director? What do you plan on doing next? What's your next plan?
Well, there's a picture. Brad Pitt sent me a book called The Lost City of Z, which is sort of about the real-life version of Indiana Jones. It's a bit darker and a bit more elaborate a story than Indiana Jones, but it's an explorer who went down to the Amazon at the turn of the last century and really went quite mad looking for a lost civilization in the jungle. I mean, the story is incredible. I mean, he was sent back to fight in World War I and got injured with chemical weapons, and eventually wound up bringing his 18-year-old son back with him to the Amazon to try and find this magical lost civilization. And he disappeared, was never seen again. Hopefully, I'll get to make that next year, and hopefully it'll be with Brad, who looks exactly like the real guy. The real guy was a very handsome, very dashing figure named Percy Fawcett, and so that's hopefully the next thing I'm doing.
I will never walk away from you.